Going here. Okay, so good evening and welcome to the Lifeforce Showcase. This is a showcase number 3. We're doing an educational series, and tonight we are going to be talking about legal pushback. There's a lot of different laws that are being violated, and we really would like to stand up for our rights, and we have some information. We have Max, who's joined us tonight, who is going to explain a lot about the process and the legal realities that we're facing with things such as the mask and possibly vaccinations and other things that the government seems to want to force upon us. So I wanted to introduce you to Max, and she's going to lead off. So go right ahead, Max. Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, David. Thank you. So first of all, disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer. I have no legal expertise whatsoever. I'm just a regular person who decided to do a little research into the law. Did someone else join, David?
Yeah, Ivory Gillison, welcome to the call. Sure.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm not a lawyer, have no legal expertise, but I just decided to go look into things once this COVID thing hit and stores started mandating things and all. Didn't seem right to me, so I went and did a bunch of research. And so based on that, well, basically what I want to say is this. The deep state, the cabal, the powers that be, whatever we want to call them, they know perfectly well that they're violating numerous laws in forcing people to take their temperatures, wear masks, social distance, all this stuff, lockdowns. It's 101% illegal, which I will show you based on my research. And obviously they know this. And what's going on is they've decided to do it anyway, just to see whether people will comply and consent. And unfortunately, most people are. And if you don't say no, then it actually is implied consent. And so they're hoping to do whatever they want, disregarding the law, because they figure that most people will not notice or will not question it and will, just go along with them. So I think it's really important for each of us to push back in whatever small way we can, because there's already too few of us that see the problem. And so they will, the forced mask will lead to a forced vaccine and a forced microchip and God knows what else if we don't stand up and push back. Now, fortunately, people all over the country are doing just that. So it's wonderful to see. And I think each of us can do whatever, send a letter, anything, any small action, because that action doesn't just exist on the physical level. In my belief, if we do something, it's also a spiritual act, and that makes a difference in other dimensions. And I kind of see the matrix, this whole thing as a big, giant concrete wall. But if each of us, hammer a little bit and a little bit, then eventually the whole thing comes down. So that's just, my opinion there, but I would encourage everyone to do everything that they can. So in looking into it, I came up with some action items that I'm gonna go over here. So the first one, David, if you wanna pull up the notice of non-discrimination that I sent you. The first action item that we can do is we can put businesses that discriminate against us for not wearing a mask on notice. So I created a form for that, and it has a little space for you to write the person's, the store name, the address, the person who's denying you entry, and the date. And on this form, for their edification, I put down the different laws that the store is violating. And so this is just a good thing to do. So, you go, they won't let you in, you show them that, and you give them a copy, and you keep a copy. And you keep a copy in case at some future date you decide you want to sue them. That would be something that you would want to show that you tried to tell them and give them notice, and they still refused. Now, in my research, just a small caveat is I found that actually the easiest way to sue a business that discriminates against you is to file an injunction for them violating their own code of ethics or non-discrimination policy, because each store apparently has one of these. So you could look it up, and you could even print it out and take it with you and show it to them. But in any case, if you did ever want to sue, you don't even have to go through the whole suing part. You can just get an injunction against them, because they would be violating basically their own store policy. So that's the easiest way if you decide you want to pursue that. The second action item that I have is that we can write letters to various, to the health department, like our county public health department. We can write letters to health agencies such as the Oregon Health Authority or OSHA. We can write letters to the mayor, the city council, and even the state auditor's office. Now, the state auditor's office, I included that because I found an interesting little thing, which is for the governor to say that we're under an emergency, or any other of these agencies, if there's not proof that it's actually an emergency and they are collecting funds, you can notify the state auditor's office of that, and they can get in trouble for violating the law. In any case, I do have a letter that I wrote to the Jackson County, if you want to pull that one up, David, to the Jackson County Public Health Department. And in the letter, here, let me see, I have it here. You are welcome to use this, to use it fully as I wrote it, to copy and paste it, to modify it in any way you see fit. I mean, I'm sharing these just because I put it together, so there's less work, you know, for you guys to do if you want to use these. And so I just want to kind of go over it just really briefly. I mean, you guys can look at it yourselves, but the first thing I'm doing, this guy, Dr. Shames, is the medical director. And so I'm asking him whether there is an emergency or not, now that the CDC has updated their numbers. So I give him the CDC updated infection fatality survival rate for COVID-19, which is fairly astonishing in view of the media narrative being so opposite to this. So I'll just go over this real quick. So for the age group 0 to 19 years of age, the infection fatality rate, which is the death rate, is 0.00003%, 4 zeros after the point. It's ridiculous. So the survival rate for children up to age 19 is 99.997%, okay? So I asked him, why are schools closed? And why do children have to wear masks based on this? That makes no sense. Now, age group 20 to 49 years of age. The death rate is 0.0002%. The survival rate is 99.98%. For ages 50 to 69, the death rate is 0.005%, and the survival rate is 99.5%. And even for 70 plus years of age, the death rate is 0.054%, and the survival rate is 94.6%. So when you see those numbers, it just, you know, the media narrative, the actual numbers, there's a big abyss between the two. What I've noticed is that the media talks about cases. So people will tell you, well, there are all these cases, positive cases. Well, cases are not deaths. Cases are cases, and people survive them. So it's a non-issue. I also asked the medical director of the public health department here in this county, and I'm going to ask it of other health agencies, that they, as health professionals, are supposed to provide people with all the information for people to make an informed consent decision. So I'm asking him if he has provided people with the health risks of wearing a mask, such as our respiratory system. When we exhale, it's supposed to exhale toxins and bacteria. That's part of our excreting function, just like defecating and urinating. Now, if you're wearing a mask, you're breathing in your own waste. And that causes the bacterial load to increase in your body and can lead to diseases like pleurisy, Legionnaire's disease, and staph infections. So I asked him if he's informed people of that. I asked him if he's informed people of the risks of hypercapnia and hypoxia, which basically mean too much CO2 and too little oxygen in the system. Skin lesions, rashes from the mask, dental and gum issues, psychological reactions from people suffering from PTSD. What about the risk to developing infants and babies who rely on facial expressions for their proper psychosocial development? So I asked him if he has provided the public with this part of the information about wearing masks, which of course they haven't. And I also show him the things that the WHO, the CDC, and the Journal of the American Medical Association have put forth about wearing masks. And you can read it yourself, but I'll just read you a few snippets. The WHO says, among other things, there's no current evidence to make a recommendation for or against the use in these settings. All these bodies that they're referring to are actually saying that masks are not proven to be effective. I looked into any research studies and found 0 studies that would suggest masks do anything against this virus or any virus. So I also then ask him if he's aware that it is against the law to proclaim an emergency when it's false. And I ask him, this is another interesting thing I found. So these health departments, one of their jobs, like OSHA's job, they're supposed to police the unlicensed practice of medicine, okay? In fact, what they're doing is they're pushing the unlicensed practice of medicine by mandating businesses to engage in medical interventions, such as asking people to wear a mask or taking a temperature. So that is actually against the law. And so I asked him about that. And then the other thing I do is I provide him with the Universal Declaration on Bioethics and Human Rights by UNESCO, which basically says that any medical intervention is voluntary and that people can refuse. So you can read those. I listed all of them, but that's the basic, gist of it. So that would be one of the other action items to write to these health agencies. And you can probably use the Jackson County letter for OSHA and Oregon Health Authority, just modify the names, and it's pretty much, you can send really the same letter. So it's easy, just copy, paste, and send. Okay, the other thing that we can do, which is kind of easy, is, I don't know if you've noticed, but I go into my bank, there's signage, there's big screens with wash your hands, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart, blah, blah, blah. If you drive on the freeway, you see signage on the freeways about COVID and wearing a mask. So you can file a complaint with the Department of Health for all these businesses who display signage giving medical advice on COVID, because it's against the law to give medical advice if you're not a medical professional. And so I actually found that law in Oregon. It says, any person who practices medicine without a license, as prohibited by ORS 677.080, prohibited acts, commits a Class C felony, okay? So, as an example, a restaurant, and what they say in their language too is that this idea of a duty to protect the public. Well, a restaurant, for example, has no duty to protect the public, yet it is acting in that capacity. Furthermore, it has no legal capacity to treat the public, such as a medical intervention like put on a mask. And so they are, any business that's doing any of that is clearly violating the law. So even exhibiting the signage, if you're not a medical agency or professional, you can't do it. So, you know, it's a small thing. It seems fairly insignificant, but when you consider that part of mind control or brainwashing is repetition, and every damn where we go, we see these signs repeating, ah, COVID, oh, wear a mask, you know, it may be important to try and stop these businesses from, you know, from doing so. So again, it's a pretty easy thing you can do. So you just, you know, just write. I actually have sent out in the past a sample letter for ODOT, which, you know, I can give David at some point and he can include it. So you can just sort of copy that letter. The fourth action item is write the governor. So I did write a letter to the governor, and I don't know if you want to pull that up, David. And here's some of the things that, so what I started with her is showing her, I tell her that businesses in my local area are prohibiting me and others from shopping because we cannot safely wear masks due to medical conditions, religious beliefs, and personal choice. False information is being posted on storefronts claiming mask mandates are law, when in fact no executive orders, states of emergency, or city ordinance can suspend or violate established law. So then I list all the laws that I found. So there's a federal law, which is the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which says very clearly, I won't read it, but it says very clearly you cannot discriminate or exclude people for any, you know, in any privately owned facility that serves the public. There's Oregon law. And so this one's, I'll read to you because we're in Oregon. It's interesting. Oregon law 659A.403. It is illegal to discriminate in places of public accommodation on the basis of race, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, religion, marital status, physical or mental disability, or age. I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. The law in Oregon says that stores cannot discriminate if you have a physical or mental disability, or if your religion, you know, doesn't, if your religious belief, you feel it's wrong to wear masks. Now, as a little sidebar, wearing masks is part of a satanic-based religion. So they wear masks in satanic rituals in Luciferian churches, and, you know, so people may object to donning satanic wear when they go out in public. That's a religious reason, for example. But it really, you don't even have to have a religion. It can be just a spiritual reason. It can be just that, you know, you just disagree. So there it is, Oregon law. So they're violating this blatantly, but it is the law. There's the Americans with Disabilities Act, which, you know, they can't discriminate. You know, that's why, you know, stores have to have big doorways so you can go in if you're in a wheelchair, and they, you know, they have to accommodate you. They can't discriminate. And guess what? If you have asthma or you have PTSD and you can't wear a mask, that's under the Americans with Disabilities Act because you're medically disabled. They're violating that too, but that is also a law. And then I read it to you earlier, the Nuremberg Code, which is international law. And in case you're not aware, that was what was created after the Holocaust. So the Nazi SS officers, when they were on trial, they would say, well, you know, they did all these heinous experiments and medical things to the prisoners, the concentration camp people. And that is, when they were in court for it, they said, well, we were just following orders. But of course that doesn't, you know, that you're still breaking the law. So they created a lot of law about, you know, people have the right to refuse medical treatment, to refuse experimental treatments and such. And this is a really good law for you to go look up also regarding vaccines, because, right, it's very clear there that you don't have to receive a vaccine. There's 18 U.S. Code 242, deprivation of rights under the color of law. So it says, whoever under color of any law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom willfully subjects any person in any state, territory, commonwealth, possession, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privilege, or immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, and then it goes on, but basically is illegal and you will be charged and go to jail. So that's yet another law. And then the obvious one is the Constitution of the United States of America, which gives us, freedoms and protects us from this kind of stuff. So I tell her that I also then, so I basically cover the legal stuff, which, I mean, she already knows this, but for the sake of it. And then I cover the same thing that I covered in the health letter, which is the CDC numbers, and asking her, is this an emergency, and why are children, why are schools closed based on the numbers, and, request that she, so I say, in summary, we, the people of Oregon, are requesting you remove the unlawful mandates and the state of emergency in view of the CDC's own numbers, which do not support an emergency declaration, nor masks or social distancing, which in and of themselves are not proven by science to have any effect, even if there were a legitimate pandemic. So again, feel free to copy and paste that letter, change it, send part of it. The idea is really just to put her on notice and to let her know that we see what she's doing. Now, if she gets a whole bunch of them, will that make any difference? I don't know, but it's worth a shot. And it's also, again, a prelude to a lawsuit. So if we ever find a lawyer in Oregon who's willing to sue the governor, it's been done in other states. It was recently done in Michigan, and the Supreme Court there tossed out all of that governor, I forget her name, Whitmer or something, tossed out all of her mandates. So it clearly said, yep, you violated the law. And with these governors, it probably, we have to get to the point of suing them. And if we get a class action or a bunch of us, and it's an idea, and I'm gonna sort of look around and see if there's any lawyers, and then when I find someone, I'll see if anyone wants to join me, but that might be a good next step. Number 5 on my action items list is, I don't recommend this unless you really like to fight and make public scenes, but I just want to mention it. We can do a citizen's arrest on a business who engages in what's called false imprisonment. If they prohibit you from walking into a store, they are engaging in false imprisonment. And per the Constitution, we can make a citizen's arrest. Now, again, you really have to want to make a scene and get yourself in a lot of, negative energies, but I just wanted to put it out there because it is an option. And number 6, the last thing that I have on my list of action items is to form an Oregon Assembly, which I will describe what that is in a moment. But right before that, I just wanted to mention a couple of other things I found out in my legal research. I found out, well, actually I knew this already a while ago, but the CDC and the WHO, in case anybody isn't aware, they are not a government, CDC is not a government agency, it's a private vaccine company, okay? It's a private company. WHO is also not a governmental body, it's also a corporation. So as such, they actually have no jurisdiction over us, and they can't tell us what to do. The other thing I discovered, because when I would go in stores, people would say, well, it's the governor, it's the law, you have to wear a mask. And I thought, really, that sounds strange. So I went to look it up, and I found out, wow, governors cannot make laws. They cannot. Governor has zero legal authority to compel a citizen to engage in any actions. The governor only has jurisdiction over departments and agencies. So the governor can sign legislation into law, but she does not make law. And the agencies create regulations, rules, and orders, but these must undergo review to ensure they are not breaking established law, such as the laws that I just talked about, the 1964 Civil Rights Act, Oregon law, all the other laws. they're supposed to do that. Obviously that didn't happen, you know, but per the law, they see executive orders, mandates, whatever. Law is up here. They're all below law. They don't change law. Existing law is existing law. So they're below that. I found out just today that normally a board of supervisors in a county oversees the local health agency, which is interesting to me. That may be something that we could go do in person as a group. I'll look into that. I have no information about it right now, but if there's a board of supervisors, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a city council, we could maybe go to a meeting and again, ask these very same questions as to why they're breaking the law and what is the proof of that there's an emergency. So as I said, an executive order cannot compel anyone to do anything. Kate Brown is committing tyranny if she orders people to wear masks. Kate Brown can only issue public health orders in an emergency. But my question is there an emergency? Because I don't see an emergency. An emergency, there's many definitions. One is that it overwhelms the resources. So the quote, pandemic overwhelms the resources that we have. Well, that's not the case. Hospitals are open. There's no dead bodies. And it's not happening, right? The other thing that I thought of is, it's kind of complicated, her website, but when you issue a state of emergency, it expires, I think, after 60 days, and she has renewed it. But if she reopened businesses, which, you know, there was a lockdown and then she reopened, then that by definition means we're no longer in that state of emergency phase. We're in mitigation and reopening. Therefore, there is no emergency. And lastly, states cannot impede on rights granted by the Constitution. So that's some of the variety of legal stuff that I have discovered, you know, along the way. And I would encourage everyone to take at one or more of those actions that I listed. Did you have a question, David?
No, I was just going to
okay.
jump in as you're finishing, so go right ahead.
So the last thing I want to talk about is assemblies. I did a little, oh, thanks, David. Yeah, so when I'm done, actually, David, I'd love if you would talk about Lifeforce and share that with people. But so he will explain what Lifeforce is in a minute, but this is from the Lifeforce page. They are creating assemblies in every state. And pardon me, my cat is scratching on the door relentlessly and I can't concentrate, so I'll be right back.
And I just wanted to mention, you guys, thank you for your patience. And just wanted to say, Max, we will be, all the letters that were shared will be on PDF files that are attached to the YouTube video replay of this call. So I will get to that here in a minute, but go ahead, Max.
Okay, thank you. So this is just be real quick. So assemblies are based on Article 1 of the Bill of Rights. And I'm going to read it just because it's just really good to hear this stuff, even though you may have, you know, read it before in the past. So we declare that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that all power is inherent in the people, and that all free governments are, and of right ought to be, founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and well-being. For the advancement of those ends, the people have at all times an indefeasible right to alter and reform their government. So the purpose of an assembly is to move the elected people in government offices in the direction of protecting people's rights and cease abusing their office for their self-aggrandizement and self-benefit at the expense of the people, which is what they do. The assembly as a whole can develop the notice to be delivered to the offending government office and the agent or agents involved for the particular statute, rule, or ordinance or regulation that has caused harm to the people or people's property. This is how we, the people, hold our elected, appointed, and hired government agents responsible and accountable for their actions. So grievances are brought about by the assemblies through the use of written communications in the form of notices, freedom of information requests, complaints, and basically those written notices make a case for the removal of those people holding office that are abusing their power. Because in the Bill of Rights, when I read it again, it's really clear. No government, we've been brainwashed and we've been mistaught. This is not even taught in school, of course, deliberately. But we are endowed by the Creator with rights. So there's no man, no government can take away your rights. You're born with them. Your Creator gave them to you. You come here as a human being. You are in possession of all your rights. The only real law that we're subjected to is natural law, okay? Which basically is do no harm, and if you do harm, you make a reparation. Now, we have a constitution, we have a lot of laws. The law has been taken by these, this cabal, these people in power, and it has been totally corrupted. The legal system is not a great system for we the people, but the Constitution is, and ironically, we can use the laws in the legal system against the very people that are trying to, enslave and take us over. So there is a benefit to the law at this point because it's very clear and they're breaking it. So, but what's interesting here with the Bill of Rights is no president, no governor, no anyone can take away our rights. We're born with them, they're ours. And this idea that the government was created and instituted, as it says here, for the peace, safety, and well-being of the people. The government is our servant, not our master, as seems to be the case today. And so if the government exceeds, overreaches that definition of what it's supposed to be, then of course we have the right to alter that government and change it. So assemblies are something that have been started, to my knowledge, and David, you can add to this, in New York, in California. They seem to be going fairly strong. And I saw a video of a woman from the Florida Assembly, and she went into, I think it was a city council meeting, and she was so powerful, and she served them. Notice, she went to each of their desks and served them. And this can be done, and this is one of the ways that we can also take our country back. Now, I don't know much about assemblies yet. I'm still studying it, but the first step in any case is simply to get a bunch of people together and to start meeting and to start talking. And there's, I think, an amount of 12 or 13 required for a petite assembly, like a small one, and then I think 20 to 30 people for a full one. So if anyone's interested in joining an assembly or even heading it, I'm not attached to that. I mean, I'd actually rather somebody who knew a little more about it would take charge, but I do think that we should really make an effort to create an Oregon assembly. And so, yeah, so with that, that's my presentation. That's what I found, and sharing with you all, hoping that together we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Max. Well, thank you guys for joining us. There's a lot really to talk about. I'm trying to do some education because I've been following Lifeforce and Kimberly Ann Gogan for quite some time. There's a lot of information, and I know a few people on the call, but there's some of us that are new and don't have that background. So I would strongly suggest, if you're interested in seeing and where we're at in space and time, and why we're doing the things we're doing. This page I have up right now, the speakproject.net, is a really great place to start and to do a little bit of research on Kimberly Ann Gogan, who she is. For those of you who don't know, she is the guardian of global assets, and she is the one who's really moving us towards a lot of different changes. With the specific changes are known as the Earth Restoration Plan, where we start to change all of the bad structures that we're dealing with now that are causing all these problems on the globe. And that has to do with really the finance. The money needs to be changed and corrected. The legal part of the way the world is run needs to be something better, because these very wealthy individuals, elite, have taken control, it seems, of the worldwide governments. And so we need something to replace it. And that's really what we're here for. So Kimberly Ann Gogan has established a couple of different projects. One is known as Lifeforce. Lifeforce is how we're all gathering together. And that's with Max mentioning the assemblies. That's how we're trying to form assemblies. So if you're interested, you can go to lifeforce.global. That's actually a web page. And if you do that on your cell phone, you can download an app and you can join us and see what we're doing. There's a lot of different areas within Lifeforce that you can join for anything from health to water to these legal issues, education, lots of different things. So people can be creative in what they already know and do and assist. So we are building and growing, and we do need people, especially here in the state of Oregon. We really are trying to establish an assembly. We'd really like some people to step forward if possible and assist us in establishing that. We feel we can make some great strides and help really get things moving in the right direction for the people rather quickly if we all coordinate our efforts. So this call is recorded. I will be dropping a replay on 3 different areas of that you can get a hold of if you want to watch this replay. One is the Lifeforce app that I mentioned, lifeforce.global. Go and download the app. I will be listing the replay link for YouTube on this, and on the YouTube link we'll have all of the letters that we displayed here that Max put together that were shared here on this video. So you can easily just click on a PDF and you can download those, and as Max said, modify them as you see fit. So that will be on the description section on YouTube, in the description section of the video replay. In addition, I do try to feed information out through Facebook, even though it's rather corrupted. There's still a lot of people on Facebook. You can go to a page known as Left Coast PC. That is a page that I run where I share all of the Lifeforce information and such. So if you use Facebook, you can go there. And in addition, these videos that we're posting are posted on a YouTube page known as Hyperdrive, Hyper Drive, Hyperdrive, and that's the name of the YouTube channel. So we will be continually doing these videos and basically bringing forth the information as we gather it. So we appreciate you guys, joining us today. I do want to say that. Let's see, we have Lifeforce is really moving along. We're seeing some really great things happening. People are coming together, but it depends on the states that you're in. For instance, in New York and California, we do have the assemblies. They've already been established and they're moving forward very quickly. They're starting to, from what I understand, submit a lot of legal documentation heading towards lawsuits, which will really get the attention of these corrupt officials who are basically violating our rights and the Constitution and a number of other rights. But the idea is to push back so that we can, so that our rights don't disappear. And we need to let people know that this is very important, especially for us and also for, let's say, our children or grandchildren as they grow older. We want to try to leave them with a better world if we possibly can. And that's a lot of really what Lifeforce is about. So
And
with all
David,
that,
I
yes.
just, David, if I may, I also wanted to mention in terms of, you know, links that you're giving out, thehealthyamerican.org is a great resource for this is how I got started. Her name is Peggy Hall, and it's thehealthyamerican.org. So you want more information about all of this, she has stuff about the schools, homeschooling, all kinds of stuff, good stuff on there. And then an outfit for learning more about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and that kind of stuff is the National Liberty Alliance. And that's nationallibertyalliance.org. They have, I noticed when I checked today, they have, if you go nationallibertyalliance.org/county-sheriff-project ? They have put together a packet that all of us can download, and I think there's a charge for it. But then we can provide that to our local sheriffs to sort of inform them about the law and what's going on, because, you know, it would be great if the sheriffs, you know, were on our side. So I'm sorry, I forgot to add that earlier. Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you, Max. Yeah, we do have a lot of different links, and we do want to provide you guys with as much information as we can. So I will be working on that. And I'm not a professional videographer, but we are getting there, and things are coming together for us. So we appreciate you tuning in to this channel, and you can reach out. All of our information is on the Hyperdrive YouTube channel, and you can also reach out to David or Max on the Lifeforce app. So we want to thank you guys all today for joining us, and we do have a little bit of time for some questions. So if anyone wanted to raise their hand and had any questions, we'd maybe Max and I can follow with a question answering. Anybody? If not, it looks like we're just going to end the call. And I want to thank you very much, Max, for your time and effort, for doing the research and assisting us in getting this information. These letters are very valuable, and we can definitely make a difference with them. So I'll be working on getting this up and the replay up as soon as possible. Thank you all for tuning in, and you guys have a good evening.
All right.
Thank you.